Hey folks, welcome back to our Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark.
And I'm Anne.
Today we're taking a look at Herbaceous Sprouts.
Herbaceous Sprouts is a game for 1 to 4 players ages 8 and up. It lasts about 30 minutes and is brought to you by Pencil First Games.
Great, well let's go see who has the ultimate green thumb. Now the goal in Herbaceous Sprouts is to become the ultimate head gardener, and you'll be battling against your fellow gardeners to see who can plant the best seeds throughout the garden.
Yep, and the way that plays out is whoever has the most victory points by planting the best plants is going to win the game. And so the game will play out over 8 to 10 rounds depending on how many players you have. On your turn, you will be collecting your seeds and your tools from the tool shed, putting them into your own personal wheelbarrow, and then when you're ready, planting them out in the garden. Indeed. So you can go for a lot of lower points quick and get a bunch of flowers and seeds out there, or you can kind of save and collect and then plant some of those bigger, more important ones for bigger victory points.
Indeed, it's all about victory points. All right, setup is pretty quick and straightforward for this game. You're going to take the main board and put it in the middle of the table, take all the cards and put them around where everyone can has easy access. You're going to take all the dice and you're going to put them in the bag. And every player receives a player mat, a reference card. There are tokens and 2 dice that they can put in their wheelbarrow.
Okay, so like we said, the game plays over 8 to 10 rounds depending on whether you have 2, 3, or 4 players. The rulebook has a separate set of rules for solo play, so you can reference those there. So you'll be playing the game over these rounds until the tool shed deck runs out, and you'll stack that during setup with the appropriate number of cards. And then each round of the game will have 3 phases. You'll start by preparing the tool shed, and then all players will pick up and plant their sprouts, and then there will be a cleanup phase. Okay, so to set up the tool shed, what you're going to do is flip over the number of cards equal to the number of players plus 1. And then a lot of these cards at the top will have little blank spots for dice. Not every card has dice. Most of them do, probably 1, 2, or 3. So you'll roll those and then put them on the card, and then that's what's available for players to select from in phase 2. All right, so phase 2 is picking up and planting in the garden. And there's a few different steps to this. Yep. Each player will take their turn one at a time. And you'll start by selecting your tool from the tool shed. You can pick from any of the available cards. You will take the dice and put them into your wheelbarrow. Now, it's important to note here, you can never have more than 7 dice in your wheelbarrow.
Right.
So you'll have to discard some, or maybe discard some that you had previously so that you never go over 7. After that, you can do special actions, and these are based on the cards or the dice. We'll go over all those in just a minute. And then after that, you have the ability to plant from your wheelbarrow into one of the 4 garden spaces. So all players will take their turn, and then you'll move on to cleanup.
All right, let's take a look at some of these available actions. First one we're looking at is the seed bag. And this is a pretty valuable action actually because it allows you to go to the bag and pull out more dice to put in your wheelbarrow. Now, again, just like Anne said, you can't have more than 7, so you got to make some tough choices if you get more seeds and you already have a full complement in your wheelbarrow. And then you have the gardening gloves. And these gardening gloves are fantastic because they allow you to roll any one dice. So if you've got multiple gardening gloves, you can do multiple rerolls, which is fantastic. Yeah. And then you have the trowel. The trowel is good because when you plant flowers, you have to have a trowel in order to plant a flower. Yeah. And there's 3 types of different flowers to choose from. Next, we have the watering can. And basically what this allows you to do is take 2 of your dice, 2 that are matching, and turn them into a flower. And basically it allows you to plant a flower in any of the locations that are available.
It also allows you to bypass having the trowel
right? Yep. Yeah, so that's pretty slick actually. And then you have the sprout pot. This is a card that allows you to have an extra seed basically. It tucks to the side of your player mat and it acts like an extra dice for future use. And once you use it, you have to discard it. You do.
And it also doesn't count towards your wheelbarrow limit because it's sitting in a pot on the side.
That's right.
Not in your wheelbarrow.
And lastly, we have the market package. And this basically just allows you to manipulate dice that are already in your wheelbarrow. You potentially will be changing one specifically, or it may be a wild that allows you to change any dice into whatever you need.
Okay, so let's take a look at the dice because these have actions on them as well.
Indeed they do.
So there are 4 different colors of dice, and each of these are different, but all of them have 5 faces, 1 for each of the 5 herbs in the game. The 6th face is what is unique between each one. Okay, so we'll start with the green dice. The 6th face on the green dice are the flower seeds. So there's forget-me-nots, black-eyed Susan, and peonies. And there's one flower per dice on there. The pink dice has gardening gloves as its sixth face.
Yes.
And these are really cool gardening gloves because you can roll as many of the dice in your wheelbarrow as you would like.
Yeah, it's super powerful.
For sure. And if the gardening gloves come up again from your reroll, then you can keep rerolling. The yellow dice has a trowel as its special action, and this works exactly like the trowel on the cards. But you are able to put it in your wheelbarrow and save it for the future whenever you're ready to plant a flower if you're not ready to use it yet. All right, and finally is the blue dice, which has the wild herb.
Yes.
And this can be any of the herbs that you would want. It can't be a flower, but it can be rosemary or lavender or whatever wild herb you are looking for.
Indeed. You know what I like best about these is that the dice allow you to hang on to those actions for later use where the cards do not.
Yep.
All right, now you get a plant. And you're going to be planting these seeds that you've been cultivating and they're in your wheelbarrow. And there are 4 areas in the garden to plant upon. So you have flowers, which you're using the trowel throughout to plant flowers there. And you'll notice before we go to the others that there are point values. And if you're like the first to get to places or you have the most of something, you could get more points down the road at the end of the game. So the thing you're looking for in these other areas of the garden are you have to have all of the same, or you have to do pairs, or you have to have all different. So you just different combinations of seeds are going to pay off based on where you're planting in the garden. And then once you use those seeds to plant, those dice are going to go back into the bag.
Yep, and so you'll use your tokens to mark on the board what it is that you have planted. And there are all these little signs throughout the garden. So for example, you might have 3 of a kind, which will give you lower points, or you could have 4 or 5 of a kind, which are going to give you more points.
And that's where you get that real, ooh, do I go for these quick points, or do I save up and push my luck and try to get the higher point valued spots?
Absolutely. All right, so finally we are at the cleanup phase, because when you're gardening, you have to clean up,
You do, absolutely.
All right, and so for the 2 and 3 player game or the advanced 4 player game, you will have 1 extra card out here. And in the bottom, there's going to be a little indication to the garden to one of the spots. So it might be a flower, it might be an herb, but there's little icons that will tell you exactly where it is. And that's where the rival sprout tokens are going to come up.
Indeed.
And these are kind of like weeds. They basically just take over the
They
points.
are weeds, yeah, absolutely.
They're horrible.
They
and
are.
You can't plant anything there.
Yeah.
And so...
And that's it. They're done. That spot's gone, right? So...
Yep, and so when you're selecting your cards, you might even want to like have a strategy of, oh, I really don't want a weed to grow up there because I want to plant there on my next turn.
Indeed.
So yeah, basically you'll have the little weeds will pop up in the garden. Like I said, that's for 2-player, 3-player, or you could even play like an advanced, super competitive 4-player game. Okay, so once the weeds have grown in the garden, unfortunately, you will take that card and add it to the discard pile, and any of the unused dice from that will go back into the bag. The bag will get passed to the next person. They will prepare the tool shed, and they're the lead gardener for that next round. They'll start it off by playing first. You'll continue this over all of the rounds until the tool shed pile is gone. You'll finish that round, and then you add up all your points, and whoever has the most points wins. So this is the sum of the points that you've earned in your garden, as well as you can get some points for herbs and flowers that are left in your wheelbarrow as well.
And you also can get lemonade. So if you're the first player throughout the game to plant in each of the 4 or each spot in the garden, then you will receive the lemonade card because it's super refreshing because you've done so well. And this is worth 2 points at the end of the game. So it's just another thing to battle over as you're trying to be the ultimate gardener. Hey folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview and everything you've seen here has been in prototype form. So keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that may occur. Now with that said, I really like what they've done with this game. I really like the dice component that they've added to Herbaceous Sprouts. And I just found it to be thematically really well done. So, yeah.
Well, if you know anything about me, you know that I love games with beautiful artwork. And so
and this game is right up your alley.
It totally is. Beth Sobel knocked it out of the park. And I love the original Herbaceous. So I was super excited whenever I saw that this game was coming out. And I love it. It was great. It reminded me of the original one, but with some different flavors. Obviously with dice, which is a new element. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed it.
Great. All right, folks, well, if this looks like a game that would be of interest to you, I'm sure they would appreciate your support. And I think that's it from us. And until next time, we'll see you at the table.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.